Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Casual Comic Fans. I am Mike from Comic Book Fans, and this is Luke from Casual Experts.
Hey, everybody.
And yeah, today we are talking about the final episode in WandaVision, which I'm pretty sure is called the series finale.
Yes, that's from what I can tell, that's what it's called.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff to unpack in this episode, but overall, I thought it was pretty damn good.
Yeah. So one thing I don't understand is the whole Ralph thing.
Yeah, that
Like,
pissed me off. Okay, let me rephrase that. The episode was really good, but there was some stupid crap. All right.
yes, yes, there
was some
was.
stuff that really pissed me off. Like especially that I was not a fan of that.
Yeah. So basically, since episode 1, they were teasing this character named Ralph.
Right,
And
which was Agnes's husband.
right, and it's apparently in this episode it was revealed that Ralph and Evan Peters are the same person, but they're also nobody.
Yeah.
So, it almost feels like there was something that was cut out. Like it doesn't really add up. I don't know.
Yeah. So first things first, I hate the internet, and by that I mean
Yes.
there were so many goddamn theories going around.
Yes.
It almost like it didn't ruin it, but I feel like it probably ruined it for a lot of people, and it like definitely hyped up expectations to a point where they couldn't really, live up to a lot of it. But on the other hand, I do give them props for actually making it somewhat unpredictable in some respects.
Sure.
Because I feel like a lot of the rumors and stuff on the internet, like fan theories, were all very kind of on the nose, like the most obvious thing. And I think some of the decisions where they weren't necessarily the most fan favorite decisions, were more like unpredictable and not just like so obvious. Which besides the Pietro Ralph thing, I think I liked most of by the end I liked most of the decisions they made that were a little like counterintuitive, at least compared to the fan base's expectations.
Right. And also, the big cameo that Paul Bettany was teasing was himself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, which is funny. Like Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are like, we're just trolling us for like a few weeks. Like they're gonna be a big cameo, and it was just him.
Yeah.
But
which, to be fair, I think it started out he was in an interview and someone asked him if there was going to be a big cameo.
Yeah.
And in his position, it would be counterintuitive to say no because he's got to sell his show. So he's like, yo, we have something really big at the very last episode. It kind of makes sense.
But you know how things work nowadays. Like you say one thing, and then people are like, "Oh my gosh, that means the second coming of Christ is tomorrow," or something. And it's like, "Whoa, okay."
Exactly.
You took a bit of a leap there. But yeah, so the episode started pretty much where the last one left off with Agatha Harkness holding on to Wanda's kids, going like, "You're the Scarlet Witch," kind of thing. Which I did kind of take that for granted that they hadn't called her Scarlet Witch yet in the MCU.
Right.
I don't remember if it was because they had used Scarlet Witch in like actual promo material for like Civil War and Infinity War, or if I just kind of thought they did because
they usually do. I don't remember.
They usually do stuff like that. Like they usually a lot of times will have a character who their name from the comics, but they will never actually say in the movies until like the fourth one. You're just like oh yeah, you just kind of accept it's been their name.
Yeah. Like, I don't think anyone said Hawkeye, but that's his name.
Right. He said it once in, like, I think the first Avengers, but it was like a offhand thing. Like, Iron Man said, like, come on, Hawkeye, something like that.
Okay.
But I don't think most of the time they called him Clint.
Right. But yeah, going off what you said, it was interesting because Agnes said that the Scarlet Witch was prophesied to like destroy the world.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And so apparently, if she is supposed to be the villain in Doctor Strange, that's maybe what that's leading towards. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Well, yeah, because now she kind of has the hold of the Darkhold, which is weird.
Right.
So you mentioned, I think a couple episodes ago, when they showed that book in Agatha's inner sanctum or whatever the hell. You said like a lot of people were saying it was the Darkhold. Now, I didn't think it was because it looked nothing like the Darkhold. Like obviously we have seen the Darkhold in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I guess the Runaways. I haven't really watched the Runaways, but apparently the Darkhold's in those series and it looks different. Yeah. But now, like Agatha said that it was the Darkhold or something. The book of whatever the book of the damned.
Yeah.
And so like on the one hand, it's kind of cool, I guess, because like it's sort of like acknowledges that those shows were part of the MCU.
Yeah.
Even though they like never really cross over.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it looks completely different, and so far it seems to have kind of different functions. Like they used it, I forget how they used it in like frickin' The Runaways, but in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they used it for like several different things, including like kind of altering reality a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I think I didn't hear this directly from him, but I think that Kevin Feige said that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer canon. And so this is kind of like a reboot of the Darkhold.
Yeah,
I don't know if I didn't hear him
guess,
say
but
that,
it's like,
but
why
I've
use the
heard some.
Darkhold if you're gonna reboot it? It's just so weird.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like all of the TV shows. Like they were supposedly canon. Like in the Marvel Netflix shows, they mentioned the Battle of New York in the first Avengers film, and then in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. even like basically went by the movies. Whatever happened in the movies, they basically dealt with the aftermath.
Yes.
And the Runaways, I guess, was still sort of supposed to be part of the MCU, and then it crossed over with like Cloak and Dagger or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's too many damn shows, but yeah, to say they're non-canon now is just kind of weird and out of the blue. It's like,
right.
I kind of know why, because the guy who was in charge of the shows, I forget his name. Yeah, he was in charge of like all Marvel's
I know who
TV
you're talking
shows.
about.
It was like Jeff Loeb or something. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But he and Kevin Feige disagreed on like everything. So like even though I think technically Marvel wanted them to be one big thing, but they disagreed so much that eventually that one guy left, and now Kevin's like, I just want to ignore that those shows ever happened, it seems like.
Right.
You know, so I was like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was Jeff Loeb, the former head of Marvel Television with Jeff Loeb. And apparently, I think he was fired because there's a lot of like accusations of him being racist, and Peter Shinkoda, Peter Shinkoda, that actor who played Nobu, apparently accused him of making anti-Asian comments and cutting his character's storyline.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. So, whoops. Yeah. So yeah, but it seems like he and Kevin Feige butted heads a lot. So now I think Kevin just wants to forget those shows ever happened, which is a shame because like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good, and it was a cool tie-in. It was the only like MCU Ghost Rider we've gotten so far, and I really did like a lot of at least I really liked Daredevil and Punisher as far as the Netflix shows go, and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage had their moments too. But yeah, so anyway, back to the actual WandaVision show.
So something that I suspected the whole time was that the kids weren't really real, and so they kind of disintegrated with just like we saw Vision in episode 4 or 5. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was 5. He tried to leave the hex, and he almost got disintegrated, which we weren't really sure why, but now it seems obvious that it's because Wanda basically created him. You know, like her reality power, her reality warping powers go that far. She can basically just create crap. Which, you know, actual sentient beings. So yeah, she basically created her kids, which I could be wrong, but I think that's what she did in the comics. Because Vision obviously can't have kids, so I think it was something like that.
Yeah, it has something it's really complicated, but it's kind of like they're part of Mephisto's soul or whatever. It's really weird, but basically she created them.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, that was I mean, you kind of saw it coming. You knew there wasn't going to be a happy ending, which I kind of gotta like give Marvel props for this, because they did. It wasn't like scary, but it was kind of dark. Like the ending, it was not a happy ending, and just the whole thing where it really was Wanda, even though it was through her grief. It really was Wanda. She was sort of the villain in this, for at least kind of the antagonist, at least from the point of view of the people she was controlling. Right. You know, at the end, they were talking about like all those people, like we're talking about how they were suffering under her control and they felt her grief, and they weren't allowed to see their kids, stuff like that. And you're like, dang, okay, because for a while there, I was kind of assuming they were going to go the route where somebody was actually controlling Wanda, but it turned, you know, and so that would kind of pass the buck from Wanda to another villain. But they really did kind of make it be like, yeah, Wanda really did do some pretty messed up stuff. Like it's somewhat, you know, easy to sympathize with her because of all the crap she's been through. She's probably the most sympathetic Marvel character because she just like lost pretty much everybody. Right. But it's still pretty messed up, especially considering she continued doing it even when she knew what she was doing, you know?
Right.
and also the ending itself wasn't happy. You know, frickin' her whole family ended up dying again. You know, or
Yeah.
basically got erased from existence. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, at the towards the end, Hayward gets arrested, and I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. Did he do anything? Like, I'm not sure what crime did he commit. Like, why is he getting arrested? Like, I get it, he's like a jerk and a bad guy, but I don't know why he got arrested.
I would think it was basically because he resurrected Vision as like his own personal, you know,
Okay.
weapon kind of thing. It
Sure.
basically be like if you scrounged a bunch of like scrap pieces of Tony Stark's tech and made a nuke for your own personal use, and then pretended like it was an
Okay.
official government thing. You know,
Sure.
I think that's the reasoning behind this.
Okay.
Plus he like kind of arrested a lot of people. He didn't really like have any cause to arrest
Right.
them, you know, stuff
Right.
like that.
Hmm.
He seemed to do a lot of stuff under the books that wasn't really legal, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but yeah, I thought the battle between Vision and White Vision was kind of cool, or
Hmm.
should I say Vision and alternate or you know fake Vision? No, it was kind of interesting.
Double vision.
Yeah, it really didn't click in my head until this episode that White Vision is actually the original Vision.
Right.
I was
He's
kind of
the body.
thinking up until basically like I guess the end of last episode that she had somehow gotten her hands on the scraps of Vision and
Right.
reanimated them, but no, they actually Hayward actually used Vision's like corpse basically to like
Yeah.
rebuild it,
Hmm.
and then use some of Wanda's power to like animate him, which is
Yeah.
kind of like I did like a lot of the like comic accuracy in this episode.
Hmm.
In a lot of respects, and by comic accuracy, I don't mean like exactly like the comic, but I mean
Right.
like basically captures the essence of the story to the point where you're like, yeah, this is
Hmm.
pretty much the story. It's an obvious adaptation. It's not just
Right.
like an Easter egg, which a lot of things,
Hmm.
you know, basically adapt, but it's really just like, you know, a glorified Easter egg.
Right.
But in this, like, yeah, because in the comics, White Vision was when the government basically captured Vision and took over his body, and then like he got put back together, but they had taken all his emotions and memories, and he was just sort of like, and you know, just kind of like a robot. And
Right.
they that's what they did with White Vision. It was the original Vision, just kind of purged of all his emotions and attachments, and the Mind
Yeah.
Stone.
Right, right. And they had that one conversation about the boat, and that's always
Yeah,
bothered me. Like, why would you build a boat out of rotten wood? I don't know.
that's a good
But
that's a good point. I guess
um
analogies only go so far
but
logically sometimes.
but yeah, no, it what I'm seeing probably going to happen is that eventually White Vision's just going to turn into regular Vision and
Yeah,
kind of like just come back.
which
Um
Yeah, which I kind of like. Like, I
yeah.
think if they're gonna reboot him, I like that the way they're doing it because I feel like it's more of an arc
Right.
too. Because obviously
Hmm.
he's never gonna be fully the same. For one thing, he doesn't have the Mind Stone, but also he basically got resurrected without
Right.
his emotions and memories. Like he got his memories
Hmm.
back, but he doesn't have the emotional attachment to them anymore. So I think he is gonna eventually come back, but probably
Right.
be more like the android, colder Vision we see a lot in the comics. Which
Sure.
I kind of thought was going to happen in Infinity War because when Thanos took that the
Yes.
stone out of Vision, he turned gray, and I was like, oh, are they gonna bring him back, but like White Vision? Which,
Right.
and Endgame came out, and I'm like, guess not. But then apparently they did. It was just like a few years later than I
Hmm.
expected.
Right, right. And you mentioned this earlier, but the Scarlet Witch's final look is very comic booky.
Yes, yes, I
Um,
did like it. Like they made it look cool, but also comic accurate, which a lot of
right.
people thought they couldn't with the headdress. But it didn't look that weird. It just
Yeah.
looked like
No.
a small
Yeah.
crown kind of thing, you know,
Hmm.
which was cool. And I like the shade of color and like the material the suit's made out of. Like they finally gave her a
Right.
comic accurate suit because like for most of the MCU, she's just sort of been wearing like red like leather outfit. It wasn't really much of
Hmm.
a comic book or like a superhero suit. You know, everyone else
Right.
had one, but pretty much. So I'm glad she finally has a comic accurate suit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we can talk about the end credit scenes now.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
first one was Jimmy in the movie. No, Monica in the movie theater.
yeah,
But before she goes in there, she's talking to Jimmy and she says that you're really good at being a leader.
yeah.
Do you think that that was just a one-off line, or do you think that he could potentially be like the next director of S.W.O.R.D. or something like that? Because
That
that's kind of what it looked like to me was going on.
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I'm sure they are going to kind of give him more of a leader role, whether it's Sword or something else.
Hmm.
I'm guessing probably Sword because like it doesn't seem like Monica's going to be leader of Sword right now.
Right.
Because it seems like yeah, and like that Skrull lady showed up and was like an old friend of your mom's, yada yada, and like it seems pretty obvious that that's Nick Fury.
Yes.
Which is like kind of what we saw in Far From Home in the end credit scene where Nick Fury's up in space with the Skrulls for some reason. We don't know why yet. I'm sure that's going to tie into the whole Secret Invasion TV show or Disney Plus series, which I'm guessing Monica's going to be in it, I guess now.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't remember if that comes out before Captain Marvel 2 or not, because I know she's supposed to be in Captain Marvel 2, but for whatever reason, Nick Fury is going to be teaming up with Monica Rambeau in space with the Skrulls, who are good for some reason. So, I mean, it could be interesting, I guess. I don't know. No,
we'll see.
Definitely not the thing that's on like the forefront of my mind with Marvel, but you know, it could be cool to see. But then
and then the second one she was in, I'm assuming it's based on the music, and that's all I'm going off of. It's probably some kind of Eastern Europe she's in. I don't know.
Yeah.
The music is very much like that. She could just be in the Rocky Mountains. I don't know.
Sure.
But she was in like this cabin, and you see her, and then but in the back of the house, she's like her astral projection is like reading the Darkhold.
Yeah, that was interesting too. That whole the way they did that, it was kind of reminiscent of Doctor Strange.
Right.
Which like. I'm sure that's going to tie into Doctor Strange 2. We just don't know how yet. I was kind of hoping for more of an actual like direct tease into Doctor Strange 2, but it's, it's over a year out, so I guess fair enough, but I'm guessing she's going to read that and like kind of master her powers more, so she'll be like more of an actual sorceress or witch, whatever, in Doctor Strange 2.
By that point, she'll be more powerful.
Agatha at one point, but before she got defeated, said that the Scarlet Witch is more powerful than even the Sorcerer Supreme. So it seems like technically when Wanda masters her powers, she's going to be even more powerful than Doctor Strange, who's like one of the most powerful freaking Marvel characters at this point.
Right. Do you think that that we'll see Agatha again? Because she comes up several times in the comics. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's bad. And so people are theorizing that she might just be like a mentor figure to Wanda in the future, possibly.
Yeah. I feel like at this point, that's a little off the table. Because like I feel like because she's she was obviously just such an antagonist in this, and now Wanda's basically holding her hostage as like she did with everybody else, but as that basically as the Agnes character. But I mean, it's possible she might go to her maybe at some point for like advice, like she needs help with some sort of magic thing, and she for whatever reason has the only info for it. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, what did you think about the way she beat Agatha?
I'm not really a huge fan of lasers and CGI.
Yeah, fair enough.
There was a whole bunch of that. It was fine. It wasn't as bad as some other stuff, but it was fine.
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting. She basically used the runes against Agatha when Agatha basically used them against her earlier. That was pretty cool. God knows how Wanda knew how to make the runes, but Exactly. But I did think that one scene was cool though, where she actually like kind of powered up and like her suit basically popped up, and so it's basically her suit's basically just like magic, which is, I guess, kind of cool. She can basically just like make her suit pop out of thin air whenever she wants.
Right. But yeah, you mentioned this earlier, and I guess we could kind of close on this, but this is the first time, like for the whole Marvel movie, it's like 2.5 hours long. You watch the whole thing and then you make your theories about it, but. Yeah. With this, they release it like 20-minute chunks at a time.
Right.
And so it's like releasing the first 20 minutes of a Marvel movie for a whole week. True. And everyone's tearing it apart.
Yeah.
And kind of how we ended up where we are, I think, with the whole craziness and stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. And speaking of like basically like a movie broken into 20-minute episodes, it pretty much seems like that's what these Disney Plus series are, because they're all limited series, meaning there's not going to be a season 2. Unless they decide to make one if they want to. But so far, they're only making one season for each of these shows, which makes it seem like they basically are just making these series as like sort of a movie placeholder for all the characters they sort of never got around to making a movie for, but don't really feel like actually making a movie for, So like instead of making a Hawkeye movie, they're just making a Hawkeye show. Instead of a, Nick Fury movie, making Nick Fury show, stuff like that. So it seems like all the characters they've sort of had as supporting characters for the most part are basically getting the spotlight, but only as like a show, on Disney Plus instead of having to fit it into their movie schedule. But yeah, one last thing we mentioned it, but we didn't really talk about it too much. Was the whole like I guess our disappointments with the show, like what we were hoping to see and did not see. Like obviously, you and I think I did too wanted to see more of Pietro as like actually Quicksilver, which that really didn't make a hell of a lot of sense at all. Like for one thing. how does he have those powers? I'm guessing Agatha basically just like put that necklace on him and somehow magic whatever the heck, like hocus pocus, he has frickin' Pietro's memories and powers. Okay.
But she would not only have to know about the X-Men movies and Evan Peters, but there would have also have to have been an Evan Peters equivalent in the MCU. And then she would have taken the powers from the Fox movies and put it into his. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Yeah, the whole thing, the whole twist with him being like Ralph Boner was like,
right.
Okay, it didn't make any sense, and it was basically, it was basically just like a stupid tease. That was basically like you freaking bite into a chocolate chip cookie and it's really oatmeal raisin. Like they basically set it up where they're like, oh, is this gonna be the multiverse? And they're like, nah.
Yeah.
It's just like it doesn't make
really
much
weird.
sense. Like there's no reason for Evan Peters to be that version of this Ralph guy. It doesn't make any sense because it has no significance to anybody except the viewers.
Right.
Like, so far in that universe, there's no significance to him. He's just Ralph. To Wanda, it has no significance to her because he looks completely different from Pietro.
Yeah.
There's no significance to Agatha unless she somehow knows about Evan Peters from freaking X-Men movies.
Right.
And even Kevin Feige, like somebody interviewed him and he explained it like, it was just another way of showing that Agatha's messing with Wanda. But it's like, yeah, but like we just said, it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
Make any sense.
No, only the viewers know that it's messing with Wanda. Like, there's no reason to have him as the face of Pietro. Like, it would have made no difference if they just like cast frickin' like Michael Cera or somebody and just made him be frickin' like, you know. I don't know. That was disappointing, and I was really hoping they were going to mention mutants in this, or the multiverse, and they didn't do either, which I feel like is a really missed opportunity, especially since it's leading into the frickin' multiverse of madness. But I digress. Whatever. No, that was the thing that pissed me off. But the rest of the episode I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are probably disappointed with the Vision cameo thing, but that didn't really bother me that much.
No, I'm honestly kind of liking what they're doing with Vision's character with that. Like we got to see more of classic Vision, even though he was kind of fake. But now we are gonna kind of see the continuation of Vision's story. It's just gonna be different. It's not gonna be like him just purely resurrected. But yeah, so like one sentence encapsulation of your thoughts on the series as a whole.
It's
kind of a tough one.
I really liked the first like 5 or 6 episodes, but they kind of, for me, the last 2 weren't as good. So I guess it would be the first 7, but the last 2 weren't as good.
Okay,
for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
for me, I think overall it was pretty cool. I thought the whole storyline itself was interesting, and it was a cool sort of soft adaptation of House of M, and it really did develop Wanda's character and let us see Vision again.
Yeah,
and ultimately probably will bring Vision back in some capacity. But ultimately, like, I think it was good, but I think ultimately there's a lot of stuff that they kind of missed out on the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
And it honestly felt slightly like it didn't have much of an effect on the MCU overall. It felt almost mildly pointless.
Right.
Granted, I'm sure we'll see the after effects later, but like, obviously Spider-Man Far From Home is like chronologically comes after this, and like, it doesn't seem to have affect the world at all. The world at all. But obviously we did get introduced to Monica, and now we have White Vision, and Wanda, Scarlet Witch. So I guess down the line we'll probably see some more stuff. But as the series overall, like, it was good. It was entertaining. It had a lot of cool concepts and cool character development. Yeah. But ultimately, it was kind of like, not really that important.
Sure, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Not to say I disliked it at all. It was actually quite entertaining.
There's some good parts to it.
Yeah. I did think it was funny that there was like no action until like the last episode.
Right.
Which for classic Marvel fans are like, what? But
a lot of people were upset by that. It didn't really bother me, but
no, because that wasn't what it was supposed to be,
Right, exactly.
But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Leave your comments down below what you thought of the series and thought of last episode, and what you thought of all that Quicksilver stuff and whatever. And I really don't think anybody's happy about that, but anyway, please be sure to check us out on Instagram and other social media, and check out our new podcast, the Casual Comics Podcast. We have a couple episodes up now, and we're just gonna keep making more, so give it a listen. All those links are down below and are in the description. and be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and give this video a like and hit the bell button, because the YouTube algorithm likes to screw people, so you might not even see our videos even though we post weekly. So anyway, thank you again for watching. We will see you all soon.
Bye.